Hi, welcome Steve Damasco on Grandmaster Steve Damasco Challenge Studios. I want to thank you for watching. Well, as usual, I want to talk about something that usually motivates me to bring up the subject matter. Once again, I was asked to have some of my chief instructors in Massachusetts and in Connecticut do a self-defense course for some women in college because there had been reported sexual assaults. So first, again, I want to say that before I get into this, that if you have children watching this, and I've said this on many shows, that most of these shows, if not all of them, other than the self-defense segment, which we separate when they go on Facebook or YouTube, the self-defense things they can watch, but these shows are not geared for children, and I don't think your daughters are watching this, or older children, which they should be, but if they are in the room at this time when you're watching this show, it'd be great for them to watch this particular show. I'll say this again, and I've said this every time that I give a self-defense technique, that in order to be successful, really successful at defending yourself, that you have to do this over and over again. I've been doing this for many, many years. I think that if you want to help your children defend themselves against a bully or a sexual attack in college or in school or at all, that they would have to spend a minimum of 6 months to a year, the longer the better, but a minimum of 6 months to a year in a good martial arts studio that focuses on things like that. And I'm not talking about MMA, where they're going to physically try to restrain somebody to the ground, which is not going to happen, because again, somebody that attacks you, whether you're an adult male or an adult female, is going to size you up visually and say that, or visually think that they can physically restrain you, and 9 out of 10 times they're going to be able to do that. I have a son that's 6'6", 220 pounds, and if I was to wrestle, he's a third-degree black belt, runs schools in Massachusetts for me. He's the state director. If I was to wrestle my son Nico and just wrestle him, there was no doubt in my mind that I would lose. He would physically, he's stronger than I am. I have a son that's going to be 18 years old, that's 6'4", and weighs 207 pounds, and he's stronger than I am. And if I was to wrestle him, there's no doubt in my mind that he would be able to physically restrain me. So we're talking about, techniques on the ground. I know that he could do that, okay? But again, as a martial artist, the techniques that I know, that neither one of my boys, although sometimes as teenagers they thought they could beat me, but that didn't happen. So I just want to say that, it really bothers me, and it's very bothersome to me that, as a parent, that we know that they say 1 out of 5 women will be sexually assaulted as freshmen, going into college, and that, that's when you start thinking about, maybe, if you're thinking about that at all, getting your daughters into a self-defense class or a karate school, and even then, those numbers are very, very small, and that is not the number. The number is more like 1 in 3. I mean, I just pulled stuff recently and got the latest data. They're saying 1 in 5, but it's not 1 in 5. Let me just read this to you. More than 20% of female undergraduates, okay, at professional universities said this year that that they were victims of sexual assault and misconduct, echoing finding that the studies are at prominent colleges. I have the studies right here. Okay, we're talking Texas A&M, Iowa State, okay, University of Florida, University of Pittsburgh, all universities. I'm not singling out anybody. Okay, University of Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, BU. Okay, I mean, we're talking. The worst ones were University of Michigan, 30%, U of Southern California, 30%. Now, this is not me picking them out. This is Yale University, 28%, okay? I mean, the University of Wisconsin, Dartmouth College, 28%, University of Pennsylvania. Okay, now, let me explain to you. This is something that I'm very, very well versed in. Okay, they also interviewed college women all over the United States and asked them, okay, which I already knew this stat, that how safe they felt reporting a sexual assault if they did that. And over 50% of the women said that they didn't feel that the college would really do anything reporting if they had reported it. So, and we already know that only less than 50 or 50% of all sexual assaults are reported. So what does that mean? So if they're saying 1 in 5, or I'm saying 1 in 3, okay, that means that 50% of all of them at least are not reported, and they are. And we know that you know they're sophomores, I mean freshmen that are going into this, and they attribute that a lot of that to the fact that this is the first time that these girls have been away from home and they're living on their own, and you know over 65% of these girls obviously were under the influence of alcohol. I mean, what is the mentality of these guys that do this stuff? I can tell you stories. Now, let me tell you a story about the President of the United States and one of his best friends from high school, okay? Her daughter, best friends from high school, and she worked for the President. I'm not going to say the woman. I'm not going to say the President, okay? Her daughter was slipped a roofie and got sexually assaulted by one of the prominent football players at Clemson University, okay? Yes, I'll tell you what college it was, all right? And she went to the President. She was a very powerful woman, worked for, I won't even say that either, okay? And at the end of the day, nothing really happened. He was reprimanded, nothing really happened. I mean, he came from a wealthy family. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, we've got Harvard University. Let me tell you what the president of Yale has said. Let me tell you what he has said. Okay? I have that here somewhere. The president of Yale has said how appalled he was at the fact that they were at the top of the list for sexual assaults at Yale. Now I can't find it. Yale University was 28%, and that's the ones that were reported, okay? Yale University president said that it was extremely disturbing, results indicating more than 1/4 of the undergraduate women at the elite school in New Haven, Connecticut were victims of sexual assault and misconduct. Okay, results add to growing indication that sexual assault is disturbing, commonplace on college campuses, especially among undergraduates living on their own for the first time. There were responses from 150,000 students. The survey was 150,000 students at 27 schools, including most Ivy League schools. I mean, and again, I really don't want to pick out like all the Ivy League schools, but what they did survey was most Ivy League schools, and they said most of them were under the influence of alcohol at best. So let me tell you my little story, okay? 2 years ago, okay, my son Nico graduated in 2000, it wasn't 2 years ago, graduated from Keene State. And a friend of his, a young girl, 18 years old, was telling me a story. He knew the girl. And she was telling me how she had left a party and she had been drinking. She probably weighed, I'm guessing, 100 pounds soaking wet. And she was walking down the street. And she had left the party alone in Keene. And some guy, this wasn't even another college kid, because most of these are college kids, okay, doing these sexual assaults. She had left the party, and some older guy she thought was around in his late 50s, early 60s, attacked her and was attempting to rape her. And the only reason she got away was not because she fought back. She tried to fight back, but again, he overpowered her. And a girlfriend who was coming out of the party a couple of minutes later and saw this happening and yelled and ran down the street towards her, and the guy got scared and ran because somebody else was there. She was very fortunate, which motivated me to offer a free clinic, a seminar, which I I normally don't do, because that's how I make my living, and I do well when I do seminars. That's something I do around the world, not just here. And I offered a free seminar, and I had over 100 women there, over 100. And it was free, and I did probably around 2 to 2.5 hours. And I got very graphic. I had all the stats. I talked about her. I didn't mention any names, of course. I talked about my sister and how my sister had been studying in a school in Brockton. I made all three of my sisters, okay, study martial arts when I lived in Brockton, because we lived in the city. And my sister was an aerobics instructor. She weighed 100 pounds soaking wet also. And the manager had a date and left my 18-year-old sister to lock up, which was really stupid, and at a Burger King. And it was dark, and my sister locked up, and she's going to the parking lot to a car, and some guy attacked her. And she hit this guy 2 or 3 times as she was trained. And she'd been studying for about 8 months, 9 months. And she knocked the guy out, went to the police station, told the policeman in Brockton that she had killed somebody. Well, the reason she thought she had killed somebody is because she had never knocked anybody out before, and she knocked him out based on what she was taught. They went back to the crime scene, and he was gone. So she hadn't really killed him. She just knocked him out and thought she had, because she hit him, he went down, and he was out. So anyway, it saved her life. So I gave these girls an incredible financial opportunity to study at my school in Keene here. As we do, we give discounts to college kids all the time as a motivation to, you know, I had a very difficult, rough time growing up as a child, and there was sexual abuse in my home. So it's not about the money for me. It's about a lot of different things that are very personal. My sister, my younger sister Michelle, wasn't so fortunate as a little girl, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, but it was, she was young, and it wasn't a family thing, and she was able to get away, but it was very close. And there are the reasons why, this is a passionate subject for me, and so, I spent a lot of time on this. I mean, I've lectured. I was probably one of the old, I don't know if I'm the only one, but, the Women Against Domestic Violence. I lectured in those things for free for years, and I've done a lot of these lectures trying to talk to women about sexual abuse, because I grew up with that as a male, and try to explain, explain to them that you don't have to be a female to have gone through that, and they appreciated that. So there's a lot of reasons why I do this kind of work. But what amazed me is that, having said all of this stuff and being completely honest with 100 women, and they know, I mean, there were women in that room out of 100 plus women, and talked about being aware and not letting their bodies being violated. Something that the only thing they own is that. And not doing stupid things, that not one of them signed up in my school, not one. And I didn't quite understand that, that things that could psychologically, and will psychologically affect them for the rest of their life, that not one of them thought enough about that. And it was intense. I mean, you can imagine. Some of you have heard me speak before, so you could imagine. And I'm in front of 100 people, and we had fun too. It wasn't just like craziness and me getting very emotional and intense about it. I let them kick bags, and they had a lot of fun at the end. I always leave things up in a positive mood. But with all of that and the stories I had to tell about my personal life, and and growing up in the inner cities, and giving examples of my own family and myself, and they were into it. It wasn't like they were on their cell phones. There were no cell phones. Believe it or not, 100 women, and nobody was pulling out a cell phone. That's how intense I was, and how much they were into it, and I respected that and appreciated it, of course. Not one person came to that school after that, and I was stunned. And I'll tell you why I'm stunned, because, you get a shooting, and I deal with this kind of stuff too. You get a shooting in San Bernardino, 3,000 miles away, and 100 people I mean, 1 million people go out and buy guns. Millions of people will go out and buy guns. They don't even know how to use a gun. I mean, I'm an NRA instructor in two different areas, in the home and out of the home. And I've discharged a gun by accident. I mean, it's probably the most, it's an incredibly dangerous weapon, even when you know what to do with it. And I've discharged it by accident. You know, and so you got a shooting exam. I got a call from CBS in Boston, the CBS affiliate, asking me to come in and talk to them about active shooters and protecting their facility. You know, I didn't do it. I called the FBI and I let them. You know, they do that stuff better than I do. But, you know, I mean, I don't get it. You know, every time there's a shooting, okay, somebody will go out and millions of people, and you can see those stats. They talk about that all the time. You know, especially the anti-gun people will talk about the millions of people that are going out and buying guns every time there's a shooting. That people don't even know how to properly use one. Okay, they're very dangerous, and even people that do know how to use them. But yet, we know you're sending your daughters off to college. This is not if this is a guilt trip. Yeah, it is. Okay, because it's upsetting to me. It's upsetting to me because I know a lot of women that this happens to, and it's scarring for life. And you think your daughters aren't going to drink? You think your daughters aren't going to be put in those situations? You think your daughters are not going to go to these parties? You know how much peer pressure? Even good kids, you know, are going to wind up in those situations. The peer pressure is unbelievable. Their roommates. It's their first time out alone in college. Mom and dad are not there. You know, saying you can't go. They're going to go. The stats are incredible. I can't believe that I made my sisters do this. And when it saved one of their, you know, it saved one of them. And I don't know what this guy would have done. I just don't get it. I don't get it. We have a shooting, and people buy guns, and they don't even know how to use them. You're sending kids off to college, and they can't protect themselves. And hundreds of thousands in the best Ivy League schools, and not just Ivy League schools, happens right here in Keene. We need to protect our girls. I don't have any daughters. I'm saying, you know, actually, I'm glad. You know, I love little girls. They're so cute. You know, but I'm just so glad that I don't have daughters, because I'd be out of my mind. I'd be out of my mind having to deal with that. I really would. They'd probably hate me. I'd make them wear a picture of me with weapons all over me. So this is my dad. You know, but. You know, we really got to think of that stuff, you know. You really have to think of that stuff once they go off to college. And next week, you know, I'm going to talk to you about the stats for high school, because those are really bad too, and middle school. I'm going to talk about public schools and what goes on there, because I don't have schools in every single city in the country. And I'd be happy to research. I've been doing this martial arts for 45 years, and I know a lot of people. And if I don't know somebody in your city, I'd be happy to research them, because if I don't know them, I know who they studied from or who they studied from. I've been doing this for 45 years. I'm Steve Damasco. It's easy to look me up and look up my credentials. So, and, you know, people that are watching this on YouTube and Facebook, I mean, I've only got 14 locations. So obviously, I'm talking to millions of people here that can't study in my schools. I hope you do, but can't. So I'm not just promoting my businesses, I'm promoting the business of many. But you need to be sending your girls to a good school, and not an MMA school where they're going to be wrestling on the ground, because that's not going to help them when a 200-pound man, okay, is attacking them. It's not going to help. So please, listen to what I have to say. And do this. We'll talk about some self-defense techniques, some of the things that we teach them. Again, reaction time is imperative, okay? Under the influence of alcohol, you're a little bit stronger, you know? Can you still perform? Yes, if you really know what you're doing and you don't have to think about it, because the more you do it, the more it becomes reactive and second nature, and that's what it's about. Okay? I've shown people how to do things where they can be very effective in a couple hours. But again, when you're under stress, traumatic stress, okay, you forget everything you've learned unless it becomes second nature. That's why it's called a martial art. It's not a sport. Martial means war, like. That's what it means. So I'll show you some of the things and talk about some of the things that we're going to do. Okay, I'll bring Jeff up. Okay, so I'm working with this camera. So everything I'm going to show you can be done laying on the ground. I don't feel like laying on the ground. So, but you can do this if you're on your back. All right. Remember this. Somebody has both hands on you. Okay. All right. That means your hand is free. If they've got you pinned down on the ground, they've got both of my arms, Jeff. Okay. They got you pinned down on the ground. All right. Okay. So try to picture this. Again, I'm not going to lay down on the ground. You're on the ground. All right. Or on a bed, and you're laying down. All right, they can't do much when both hands are on the ground. I mean, on your arm. So they let go. Say they let go with one arm. All right, now you got a hand free. Boom. You see this? This is the best, one of the best defenses I like, because I don't care how big your fist is, and I don't think women are going to have much of a bigger fist than I do. I don't have a big fist. As a matter of fact, they used to make fun of me when I was a boxer because I never had a big hand. Okay, so you don't have to put your head down. You see, his head will be like this. That'll fit right in there like that. Okay, that kills. I know. I barely hit him though, but it does hurt. All right. So there, you want to come up. Okay, you don't want to lift your arm up. Okay, you want to always keep your hand by your side. Again, you're under stress. What is it most people are going to do? So, okay, you're on your back or you're standing up and you lift your arm up and you do this. Okay, you lose a lot of power by doing that. So he's got both hands. I'm on my back. He lets go with one. Here, you hit this in here. Okay, and then you smack the ear on the side, and then you roll over. You roll. Another thing that you can do is this. All right. Now, if somebody grabbed me like this, okay, he's grabbed me. All right, he's got me like this. Now, if I'm standing, now this is a street attack. This also works if you're laying down. If I pull away, what's your first inclination to do when somebody grabs you, okay? Jeff, hold on. Okay, is to pull away. Jeff is strong this way, okay? But he's weak that way. You just see what I just did? Okay? They're strong pulling away, so they're going to hold up. This is where they're strong in here. So if I pull, Jeff will grab me. Jeff is strong in here, but if I come like this and I come in, he's weak that way. He didn't want to get hit again. Okay? So if I'm laying on the bed, say I'm laying down on a bed, okay? I can just, okay, they're on top of me. So that's a beautiful move. Think about this. Try to visualize this so I don't have to lay on the ground. Okay? He's got his legs straddled. Okay? Over. He's got his legs straddled. That's just beautiful. So now he's got both hands on you. His legs are straddled over you. You just reach up and you just bring that knee straight in. Now don't think, because I'm showing you these techniques, okay, that you can go home. You can show your daughters this or let them watch this video on YouTube when it gets up there. Okay, Rick's been a little slow on putting these up for me. I'm just saying that, Rick, because this is national now. You're going to be in trouble, okay? Right? Think about this. You're straddled, you got him, and that knee just comes shoving straight up, all right? That gives you an opportunity to roll and scream, make a lot of noise. A lot of noise, and get out, okay? The whole idea is to get away and not play Jackie Chan or Jet Li, okay? You want to get out. How much time I got? 3 minutes, okay? Again, all right? 2 hands on there, okay? You're struggling. Act like you're going to struggle a little bit. Not too much. You want to struggle a little bit, okay? Or leave me alone, okay? That's what you want to do. And scream, okay? Because now what? Watch this. He puts his hand on my mouth. Wham! Back in there. You want to scream because you want him to put his hand on your mouth. Why do I want that? Because I want him to let go with one hand so I can hit him in the throat. And then take my knee and shove it where it should belong. Okay? So now he puts his hand, I'm screaming, he puts his hand on my mouth, I hit him in the throat, I hit him with my knee and shove it up into his, because when you take that knee and slam it as hard as you can, okay, where it belongs, I can guarantee that it's going to loosen the grip. You can roll and get up and get out of it wherever you are. On a standing position, you're walking down the street, okay? Your daughter, okay, was not thinking. She's drinking. She decides to leave the party alone like this girl did, and somebody comes up to her, okay? Same technique. Okay, guy comes up, he's got both hands, bang, you hit in the throat, boom, you hit in the ear, okay? Or You hit in the throat, grab. The best thing to do is grab. I love this technique even more than the ear because you might miss the ear. You don't know how big the guy is. Remember, they're weak this way, strong that way. Hit in the throat, right through the middle. Don't come over the top. Do not come over the top. How much time I got? 2 minutes. Do not come over the top. Right here. 1, 2, boom. And you come right in. You see what I just did? Okay, again. Do not come over the top. Come in from here. You can't even see this. Hit the throat, grab, and come in and hit. Okay? If you want to play Jackie Chan or Jet Li, hit the throat, grab here, boom, and then hit the ears. Okay? The eardrum lining is very thin. I've told you this before. That's all you need. And make a lot of noise. Remember, that girl got saved. She was yelling. Girlfriend came out. She started yelling and came running down the street, and the guy took off. A close friend of mine that works for the FBI in New York asked me to come down a few years ago and talk to an attorney friend of his. Him and his wife are both FBI agents in New York, and both of her daughters were going off to college and wanted me to do a little self-defense thing. I showed him this thing, but you know, I spent 2 hours with him, and 90% of it, she felt a lot better. 90% of it was, awareness, and don't be stupid. Please get your daughters into school. Okay? Thanks for listening.